In today's lesson, we're going to talk about adding and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators. Here's a typical adding problem with different denominators, meaning that they are unlike. Now, a common thing that students want to do is simply add the numerators and add the denominators. So 5 plus 7 would give us 12 and 9 plus 6 would give us 15. 12 over 15, reduce it, we get 4 over 5, yay! But then I say, don't ever do that. We cannot add or subtract fractions unless they have the same denominator. So how do we do it the right way? Well, first I want to tell you a couple of steps that will help to simplify your work just a little bit. Change all your mixed numbers into improper fractions. Remember improper, bigger number on top. Find the LCD of the denominators, and then that LCD becomes your new denominator, and since you changed the bottom, you're going to have to change the top. So you're going to have to adjust your numerators. And then we can add and subtract the way we did when our denominators were like. So let's try this again. 5 over 9 plus 7 over 6. First thing we're going to do is find the LCD. Now I'm going to use a factor tree because I think they're pretty cool. And I'm going to find the prime factors of 9, which we know are 3 times 3. The prime factors of 6 are 2 times 3. So here's each of our bases, and we need to have one of each base. So out of 3 squared, 2 and 3, those are our bases, and when we want the LCD, we have to find the one with the greatest exponent. So the 3, since there's 2 of them, we choose the greatest exponent, which is 2, and there's only one 2, so we have to keep both of them. And so 2 times 3 squared is our LCD. If we multiply that together, we find that our LCD is 18. So the question is, what do we have to multiply the denominator by to get 18? Well, that means 9 times what gives me 18? And 6 times what gives me 18? From our multiplication tables, we know that it's 9 times 2 and 6 times 3. So whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So we have to multiply each of the numerators by the same number that we multiplied the denominators by. And then we're going to simplify by doing that multiplication. 5 times 2 is 10 and 7 times 3 is 21. They're both over 18. And now we have a common denominator. And so we keep the denominator, we add the numerators, and we get 31 over 18. Or we can change that into a mixed number. And as we know, a mixed number, 18 will go into 31 one time with 13 left over, so it's 1 and 13 over 18. Here we have a subtraction, and we have 2 mixed numbers. So we want to change those mixed numbers into improper fractions. So to do that, we have 15 times 8 plus 1 gives us 121. 1 times 6 plus 5 gives us 11. So we have 2 unlike denominators, so we're going to have to make them like. The LCD of 8 and 6 is 24. You can use a factor tree or just prime factorization. You will find that 24 is our LCD. So if we want 24 on the bottom, we have to say, what do we need to multiply 8 by to get 24? What do we have to multiply 6 by to get 24? We multiply 8 times 3 and 6 times 4. Whatever we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top. So we simplify by doing that multiplication, and we get 363 over 24 minus 44 over 24. Now we're going to go ahead and subtract, and we get 319 over 24. When you find the LCD and the fraction that you start with is already simplified, our final answer will also be simplified as long as we use the LCD. But the LCD is not always the most efficient way. You can use the factor tree to find your LCD and find your common denominator that way, or you can simply find a common denominator. So the way that we do that is we multiply our denominators together. So I'm going to multiply 8 by 10 and 10 by 8. When I do that, I know that I have changed the bottom, so I have to change the top by the same amount. So whatever I if I multiply the bottom by 10, I'm going to multiply the top by 10. If I multiply the bottom by 8, I have to multiply the top by 8. If I simplify that by doing the multiplication, I get 50 over 80 plus 88 over 80. Now I have a common denominator, so they are like, so I can simply add the numerators and I will get 138 over 80. Now, since we didn't use the lowest common denominator, we simply used a common denominator, we've got to simplify this fraction. So it's a trade-off. Sometimes you have to spend a little more time at the end. It just depends on the fraction. So 138 and 80, we know that they, when we simplify, they are both divisible by 2 because they are even numbers. So we go ahead and we divide the top and the bottom by 2, and we get 69 over 40. Now, of course, we're going to have to check and see if that can simplify further. In this case, it is already in lowest terms, so we have finished that question. And that's your introduction to adding and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators.